Do you pay much attention to what you eat, or do you eat whatever you want?
I used to eat whatever I want. In my first book, I famously write about doing that relay I was telling you about, that 200-mile relay. And I was out in the middle of nowhere late at night, and I had run out of food. But thankfully, it was a flip phone. Remember the Motorola? I had a
Sure.
flip phone and a credit card. So I called a pizza, called Roundtable, and had them deliver a pizza to me on the run.
And they
Um,
just found you while you were running and gave you a pizza and you ate it while you were running?
Well, I mean, I told the guy the coordinates. Like I said, here's where I am, and this, I like, how long is it gonna take? He's like, probably 45 minutes. Or I'm like, let's meet on this corner.
Right.
He's like, hold it, is that your house? I'm like, well, it is now. He had no idea he was delivering it to a runner,
Right.
and he brought it to me, and he's like, dude, this is outrageous. He's like, what are you gonna do? But I told him to make it with a really thin crust and not to slice it. And then I rolled it into this big like pizzerito, like a
Oh
big
my
burrito, and I
God.
just mowed it, in this roll as I ran.
And eating like that while you're running, that didn't mess up your stomach or anything like that?
No, it was delicious. Yeah, I mean, people hear about that story and they're like, "God, I could never eat a pizza while I'm running." I wasn't sprinting, man. I was running 200 miles, so
Right.
it's kind of shuffling at a point. And I couldn't eat a pizza like that on a shorter run.
Sure.
Mm.
Yeah. And I imagine after whatever distance you'd already run, your body is just so hungry, it's begging for anything you're going to put in it.
Yeah, you're pretty much in caloric deficit no matter what you eat, because you just can't put that much food in your stomach.
Yeah. And so, okay, that was back then. Now today, uh, are you concerned with how you eat, or are there any, do you think of food in terms of health and not health and good and bad food, or are you able to just think of food as food?
No, I'm pretty particular about what I eat nowadays. I mean, I like to say if I can't dig it from the earth, or pluck it from a tree, or catch it with my hands, I don't eat it. So
Okay.
I've gotten away from packaged food. I mean, for the past, I've been like keto, paleo, pescatarian for about the last 15 years in my normal everyday diet. So
Right.
you're too young to know a guy named Jack LaLanne.
No, no, I remember Jack LaLanne. Sure.
He was like my mentor, and he said, Dean, if man makes it, don't eat it, and if it tastes good, spit it out. So I kind of kind of follow that. Nothing too sweet, nothing too messed with that goes in my mouth.
And for a really long effort, are you eating any kind of refined sugars or gels or anything like that?
Yeah, when I'm doing an event, I kind of shift my eating strategy, and I do certain gels. Some gels are made with maltodextrin, so they're not as like syrupy and sweet, because eating a lot of gels just gets nauseating after a while.
Yeah.
I also like nut butters.
Oh yeah.
So, like hazelnut butter is probably my favorite. Cashew nut butter.
I
Mm.
used to eat these things called bonk breakers, which
Ooh.
were bars that just tasted like they were mostly made of nut butters and whole grains or something like that. It was just a really dense um, square of energy.
Yeah, I remember that company. I don't know if they're still around, but I remember having their stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
there are interesting products out there that you can find, like, I think I think that's a concern for some people with, like, who eat clean, like the way you're describing. I think of eating very clean, and then you get into it and you're like, well, it's not super conducive to a long effort to have like a giant bag of apples on your back or bananas or something. You know what I mean? You want to put something in a small pocket. You
Yeah.
need condensed energy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I work pretty closely with Hammer Nutrition, and they have these raw bars that are basically, it's six ingredients, and it's all raw,
Right.
and it's a nut butter is the base, and they're kind of like bonk breakers. They're really dense and really tasty, and no simple sugars. There's no sucrose or cane sugar or anything like that in there. So, and even a lot of their like energy drinks are made with maltodextrin, and a good source of carbohydrates. It's not There's no simple sugars in there.
Right.